In the spring of 1924, Chicago police faced a brutal kidnapping and murder with a baffling set of suspects: two teenage millionaires and academic prodigies who had no obvious motive for violence. Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb possessed every advantage of wealth and status. Both were exceptionally intelligent students at the University of Chicago, with Leopold completing his undergraduate degree with Phi Beta Kappa honors at only 19 years old. They operated under a toxic interpretation of Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or Superman. This philosophy convinced them that their superior intellect placed them above human morality and exempted them from the laws governing ordinary people. To prove this superiority, they spent 7 months planning a thrill kill. On May 21st, they lured their 14-year-old neighbor, Bobby Franks, into a rented car, where they bludgeoned him with a chisel and hid his body in a remote culvert. Their plan for a perfect crime collapsed because of a single human error. Near the body, investigators found a pair of eyeglasses equipped with an unusual hinge. Only 3 people in Chicago had purchased that specific frame, one of whom was Nathan Leopold. The discovery led to a swift confession. Facing an enraged public demanding a hanging, the 2 young men were left utterly defenseless. The families hired Clarence Darrow, a legendary defense attorney and a fierce opponent of capital punishment. Darrow faced a nearly impossible task. He could not argue for innocence, nor could he rely on a standard insanity plea to satisfy a public demanding the death penalty. He accepted the case to force a confrontation with the American penal system. By representing these unrepentant, wealthy killers, he aimed to challenge the state's power to kill under the most difficult possible conditions. Darrow intended to use the trial to challenge the state's moral authority to execute its citizens. Darrow began with a shocking move, bypassing the jury entirely by having his clients plead guilty. This maneuver shifted the entire weight of the death penalty onto one man, Judge John R. Caverly. The decision to execute rested solely on his discretion. Darrow replaced character witnesses with a massive team of psychiatric experts, a novelty for 1924 courtrooms. These experts argued for psychiatric determinism. They claimed that the defendants' physical abnormalities and shared delusions had effectively stripped them of free will. Darrow successfully moved the debate toward the biological and environmental forces that produced the crime. At the conclusion of the hearing, Darrow delivered an 8-hour closing argument that challenged the very concept of retributive justice. He pointed to the recent trauma of World War I, arguing the state itself taught a generation of young men that human life was cheap. Darrow argued that the justice system cannot act surprised when the youth mimic the industrialized violence the state had so recently celebrated. He characterized the demand for a hanging as an act of vengeance that looked only to the past, offering no healing to the victim's family. The speech forced the judge to choose between the immediate satisfaction of a hanging and the evolution of human mercy. Judge Caverly eventually spared the boys, sentencing them to life imprisonment plus 99 years, based on their youth and legal precedent. Their status as supermen vanished as they were absorbed into the brutal reality of Stateville Penitentiary. Richard Loeb met a violent end in 1936, murdered by a fellow inmate with a straight razor in the prison showers. Nathan Leopold followed a different path. He spent his years expanding the prison school system and volunteering as a human subject for experimental malaria studies. These divergent paths, one ending in violence, the other in rehabilitation, provided a real-world application for Darrow's theories on human nature. Leopold was paroled in 1958. He lived his remaining years in Puerto Rico, working in healthcare and natural history. In their original goal, Leopold and Loeb failed completely. They did not commit a perfect crime, and they did not prove their superiority. Their true legacy was providing the stage for Clarence Darrow to redefine the American legal system's treatment of psychiatric mitigation and the boundaries of the death penalty.